Good morning, I'm Sally and I'll be presenting my research and findings on the subject of learning styles and theories. Learning styles were developed by Peter Honey and Alan Mumford, based on the work of Kolb. I will discuss three of the learning styles identified: reflectors, pragmatist and theorist. Firstly, defining each theory in terms of Honey and Mumford, then give examples of where these theories can be applied. Starting with reflectors. These people learn by observation and thinking about the events. They may avoid participation and prefer to observe experiences from different perspectives, to gather data and work to approach a conclusion. A scenario in which learning styles would have been considered would be in the workplace. For example, I work in a fast food restaurant, and within the store we have various stations. Each employee, through their period at the store, must learn how to function in all sectors of the process and within all stations. If a learner is a reflector, when teaching them a new skill, the most efficient way of teaching them would be for me, as the teacher, to show them exactly how the task is completed and repeat it several times to allow them enough observation time. I would then ask the employee if they have any questions about the task, so they can collect sufficient data to perform the task for themselves. Secondly, I move on to pragmatists. These people need to understand how the theory they learn can be practically used in the real world. They have to find a valid purpose for their learning and have knowledge that it will benefit them. Another characteristic of this style of learning is that the experimental nature of trying out new ideas and techniques needs to be done to see if they work. Despite using the same scenario as the previous learner, and therefore the same situation when teaching this member of staff, the new skill, as the teacher, I would take more of a back seat in their learning, firstly demonstrating the task briefly, and allow him or her to attempt the task themselves. Unlike a reflector, a pragmatist prefers to learn from their own experience. Therefore, I would let them take control and explore techniques through experiments until they reach the correct outcome and master the task efficiently. The last style I'll discuss is a theorist. These learners value the facts and theories behind the action. They need models, concept, and facts in order to engage in the learning process. They perform best in challenging situations and prefer to analyse and draw new information into a systematic and logical theory as a way of clarifying detail. This type of learner is a complete contrast to a reflector and needs no demonstration, but instead I would provide all the facts and explain the process step by step with reasons of why we perform the task in such a way. I would then allow the employee to analyse the information I've given him and complete the task. Despite needing time for analysis and clarify detail, I would set a time limit for them, for example, before the next customer enters the store, as this type of learner performs best under pressure. And now moving on to the theories. The first I investigated was behaviourism. Behaviourism is where behaviourists believe any person can potentially be trained to perform any task, regardless of things such as genetics, personality, and thoughts. The idea was introduced that all behaviours are acquired through conditioning, which occurs through interaction with the environment and our responses to the environmental stimuli. This theory states that all behaviour, no matter how complex, can be reduced to a simple stimulus. An example of this is Ivan Pavlov and his experiment with his dog. Initially, when feeding his dog, he would ring a bell when introducing the meal. Eventually, after this conditioning had took place over a period of time, the dog would start to salivate simply as the sound of the bell rang. In this case, the bell signifies the stimulus. Another related figure within behaviourism is B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner coined the term operant conditioning. It means roughly changing of behaviour by the use of reinforcement which is given after the desired response. In his experiment, he placed animals in a box containing a lever which, when pressed, would release food. The animals soon realised that the food was released. Therefore, when put in the box, they would go straight to the lever to retain the food. This is an example of operant conditioning. Contrasting and rejecting the behaviourist theory is the cognitive theory. Cognitive theory is an approach which attempts to explain human behaviour by understanding the thought process. The main assumption of cognitive theory is that learning results from internal mental activity. According to Jean Piaget, children are born with a very basic mental structure on which all subsequent learning and knowledge is based. A cognitive learner would use strategies to process and construct understanding of the content they're exposed to from the basic mental structure. All these theories will be put into place in the workplace to ensure that the right member of staff is assigned to the right task and to ensure that efficiency is at its peak for all members of staff to learn at a sufficient rate. Thank you.